are you now? We are at it again, going for an evening walk at a calm lake in the province of Ontario. You know, very abandoned beach, nobody here, nobody swims here. Because of population density and the necessity of some pretty intense forms of farming, which are beyond my understanding. But all I know is this river is just filled with, liquid fertilizer runoff, a bunch of other shit, I'm sure, too, and you can tell by looking at it, and you can tell by the life in it and around it. It's not for swimming. It looks pretty sometimes, don't get me wrong, but upon closer inspection, these are loafers. Anyways, there's these nice little creeks. So, pretty much, today I want to talk about just the concept of this screen. I assume that most people watch this on a device of some sort, if it's a phone or a computer, tablet. And I just want you, if you're watching this, just to take a moment to notice your screen, like the position of your screen in the room. See the space behind it, space in front of it. Just make sure you know that you're looking at this small box, and don't let that box be your world. It's really it's very fascinating to think about how, in fact, these little black mirrors in our pockets, these phones, are trying to take over our lives. And it's not necessarily the technology itself, because it all has a maker. There are people responsible for creating extremely addictive technologies. And not only are they addictive, but they seem to be so popular that they're almost becoming a necessity. I remember the day where I had a smartphone and I put, I had some data on the thing so I could use it wherever, and I put on this way to pay with my phone. I could just scan my phone, the double tap, and it was like the tap of a debit card. So I know that there are already things like that implemented in other places of the world, like China, for example, and I'm sure these things are very convenient, but it begs the question of what are people without the devices supposed to do, and what are the ulterior motives of these companies that have these devices, or companies that have control of the companies that make these devices. I think one of the most basic faults of a human being is their greed, their justifications for glory, in some way, their pride, what they think they're worth, or their idea of worth in general, their idea of value. I think that when a CEO of a company, decides that they're going to let the NSA have some backdoor, the National Security Agency sort of thing, have some backdoor entry into all of their log data, of all its various users, like every transaction, every interaction between users, every comment, everything, in fact, you've even affixed your eye to without clicking, without touching. There are companies that have an interest in knowing what you're going to look at, and not only knowing like what you profess to the world with your curated electronic identities, but they want to know everything else. A lot of people say, well, I have nothing to hide. And, well, you better hope not. Because certainly, with each passing day, there are, 24 hours of audio being discreetly transmitted from one device to, some mother hub of all devices. Pretty much the Akashic record for data, some mega server. And, we see things like, there's different companies, Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is owned by Meta now, whatever they're calling that. And, Twitter, like how many other platforms could there possibly be? Why wouldn't they be in cahoots? We know Google and YouTube, there's been a merger. All of these things. Microsoft, definitely at the top there, with Bill Gates having been the CEO. But these companies, they allow us to share our worlds with each other, and we go along with it because it seems as though there are unrelated things happening in the world which are causing us to have to be apart from each other. And so we see these things as solutions to a problem which we don't understand the root cause of. But if there are people who, for example, choose not to use these devices for one reason or another, what are they to do when, our entire currency is digitized? When the form of ID is a scannable code, it can only be displayed on a device. It's no longer just a piece of paper. You can't think that you can just break the law because there are facial recognition cameras everywhere. And I mean something even as stupid as just driving through a red light at night when there's no one around. I mean that's already gone in a lot of major metropolitan areas with red light cameras. Take a simple picture of your license plate and that's it. So the screen wants to be a part of your reality. It's logged everything it possibly can about you, to your knowledge, and I'm sure a bunch of other stuff outside of your knowledge. It tries to predict who you are, and it tries to inject the screen world, like the news, things that are happening in popular culture, into your world, like into the world of you and your family sitting around the table at dinner, like you and your friends, like going for a walk around, like just like your personal world that should have nothing to do with the screen is going to be influenced. This happens every time somebody brings up something in the news. Like they appear to just be spreading like this virus of an idea which may or may not be true, and which often they don't know the source of. And they don't know the repercussions of people constantly thinking one thing or the other. The diet which we feed ourselves spiritually, via our perceptions, via our own willed thoughts and unwilled, is, it is the counterpart of our physical diet, of the things which we consume. And I think it's really important just to remember that you're still looking at a screen in the room if you're watching this, and to not let this thing in. Like, leave your shit at home, leave your cell phones at home, just get used to walking around without it. Do everything you can to resist the incoming technocracy. That's everything.